There's some incredible things happening with energy efficiency, but there are some incredible things happening with productivity. ACEEE, which has been one of the organizations that we have negotiated with myriad times relative to Energy Policy Act and other issues, came out with a study recently, in fact, February '08, that really kind of framed the impact of ICT, as they call it in Europe and Japan, or IT as we call it, in terms of delivering not only productivity to the economy, actually energy efficiency capability to the economy as well. There's a number floating around right now. I think EPA came up with 1.5%. I've seen 2% as a projection for the total energy use of data centers, for example, in IT broadly. But another number that you don't often hear is that 2% or less of energy investment is actually helping other industry sectors reduce their energy consumption by up to 50%. Those are real important numbers, but they often don't get cited in conferences like this. A couple other quotes from the ACEEE study that I think is of pertinence here in terms of framing this discussion. And just by way of explanation, return on investment is not just the products, it's not the people, it's also the policy framework. You can buy gobs of technology, the latest, hottest, whatever you want to call it, technology. You could have the brightest, best people in the room or trying to get into the room, but if you don't have a credible, logical, rational framework to take all of those inputs and build an approach, a system approach, I submit that you'll still fail ultimately to achieve the goal. It's no question that there's a lot of innovation going on. I mean, innovation drives the IT economy. The US has the leading IT global economy. We are the market leaders in this space. In fact, in my kind of simplistic way of viewing the world, I view Europe as being kind of the telecom capital. I view the US as the IT capital. I view Japan as essentially the CE, consumer electronics capital. They're all converging and basically producing the same opportunities and the same content, the same inputs that are helping to drive and create this problem. So how do we approach it? Virtualization is not a new technology. It's an innovation, but it's not new. I mean, it's been around as before 2006, but as I point out on the slide, I'm pointing to my slides, by the way, because they're right in front of me. By 2006, roughly 10% utilization, 2010, 50+ utilization. If we're saving 80 to 90% of data center energy efficiency by virtue of a more effective management of the system, then that is real, incredible savings. Can we do better? Can we do more? We can. But are we taking advantage of the technology that we have right now in our offices, in our data centers, across the board? We can have the most efficient data centers in the absolute world, and we do. But if we're not engaging or enabling power management on the desktop computer, the Energy Star power management feature that's been sitting in that technology forever, then what are we accomplishing? We're doing some research at ITI as a data point, and I think the end result is going to show that if we can have just effective enablement of power management on the desktop computers across the government, and this is maybe a stretch, but I think this is where the data is going to end up. We could probably save more energy just through that than we can through almost anything else we can do with data centers, or at least as much energy. That's a bold statement. But if you look at the statistics and you look at the studies, most of which kind of get buried below the radar, the power management, the sleep mode feature on desktops is enabled in roughly 2% of the computers that have that capability today in the government.